Good evening everyone. Myself Jayasri, I'm biology faculty. Today we are going to discuss about respiration, 10th class topic. Okay. So there is a difference between breathing and respiration. Breathing means just inhalation and exhalation. The process of breathing air into lungs and releasing is called breathing. But respiration means the whole chain process from inhalation to till the utilizing of oxygen at cell level. Finally, the oxygen which we are taking, that should be utilized at cellular level. So that is called respiration. Okay, respiration is a Latin word. Respiration is Latin word. Respire. It came from the Latin word respire. Respire means to breathe. Okay. Respiration is a word came from a Latin word, that is respire. Respire means to breathe. Okay. Different organisms depending on the cells, unicellular and multicellular organisms, depending on their body size, availability of water, depending on their circulatory system, they are having different type of different modes of respiration. We human beings, terrestrial organisms, almost they are having lungs as respiratory organs. So respiration through lungs is called pulmonary respiration. Respiration through lungs is pulmonary respiration. So some organisms they can respire with the help of skin. Respiration through skin is called cutaneous respiration. Respiration through skin is called cutaneous respiration. So examples, earthworms and frog, they can respire with the help of moist skin. Okay. Some organisms they can respire with the help of tube-like structures. So that is called tracheal respiration. Respiration through tube-like structures are called tracheal respiration. Example, cockroach. Cockroaches they can respire small pores which are present on the surface of the cockroach are called spores. So internally these pores will be enters into spiracles will be enters into trachea. So it is called tracheal respiration. Some organisms, aquatic organisms, they can respire with the help of gills. Respiration through gills is called bronchial respiration. Bronchial respiration. So this we can see in terrestrial organisms like fishes. Okay. So respiration through lungs is called pulmonary respiration or bronchial also we can say. BRONCHIAL. Bronchial respiration we can say. Okay now. So depending on the availability of the water, body structure, different organisms they are having different respiratory organs. Terrestrial organisms almost they are having lungs as a respiratory organs. So respiratory organs as lungs. Respiration through lungs is called pulmonary respiration. Some organisms they can respire with the help of moist skin. Respiration through skin is called cutaneous respiration. Example, earthworms and frogs they can respire with the help of moist skin. Respiration through tubes. So cockroaches they can respire with the help of tube-like structures. Through spiracles air enters into trachea. Through the trachea there goes to body parts. Each and every cell can receive the oxygen. So that mode of respiration is called tracheal respiration. Respiration through gills. Some organisms like aquatic organisms they can respire with the help of gills. Respiration through gills is called branchial respiration. Branchial respiration we can say. Now we will see what is the use of this respiration. Oxygen finally where it is utilizing in our body. When we inhale the air is entering into lungs. Okay. After entering into lungs, our lungs are surrounded with blood capillaries. So the pigment, hemoglobin pigment which is present in our blood, that is combining with the hemoglobin. Then it forms oxyhemoglobin. Oxygen will be combined with hemoglobin which is present in our blood. Then it forms oxyhemoglobin. So this oxyhemoglobin, it enters into our oxyhemoglobin through capillaries, it enters into our body parts. After reaching to cell level, again oxyhemoglobin divides into oxygen and hemoglobin. So this oxygen will be utilized by the cells. Again the cells are having carbon dioxide. So this carbon dioxide will be combined with the hemoglobin. Then it forms carboxyhemoglobin. In the same pathway through body cells it will come to tissues to lungs. Then we will exhale the carbon dioxide. So this oxygen combining agent in our blood is called hemoglobin. The people who are having less percentage of hemoglobin, they cannot breathe properly. So hemoglobin percentage is important in our blood for proper respiration. Now we will see the respiratory system in human beings. Now we will see human respiratory system. So what are the, where is the location of the lungs in our body? Lungs are located in thoracic cavity. These are surrounded with ribs, rib cage, and backside these lungs are covered with what? See, first we are seeing the respiratory system in human beings. This is trachea. Trachea divides into bronchi. Bronchi further divides into bronchioles. These are the lungs. So this trachea contains 9 C-shaped rings. So these C-shaped rings are made with cartilage. Cartilage, trachea. Trachea divides into bronchi. Bronchi further divides into bronchioles. Bronchioles. So these lungs are made with many small sac-like structures. The small sac-like structures are called alveoli. These alveoli are called structural and functional units of lungs. Okay. So when we inhale the air, air enters through this pathway we will see now. See nostrils. This nose, 2 holes are called nostrils. Nostrils to air enters into nasal cavity. Inner part of the nose is called nasal cavity. This nasal cavity is divided into 2 parts by nasal septum. Again through nasal cavity, air enters into trachea. Nasal cavity to this is a common passage. Common passage for both foot pipe and windpipe. From there it goes to larynx. Larynx is called voice box. Here when we talk something, the sound waves will be passed through voice box. Then sounds can produce. Larynx after trachea. Trachea further divides into 2 parts. Those are called bronchi. Bronchi further divides into small thread-like structures. These are called bronchioles. Bronchioles. Finally, this bronchioles enters into lungs. Okay now. So when we inhale the air through nostrils, air enters into nasal cavity. Nasal cavity to pharynx. Pharynx to larynx. Larynx to trachea. Trachea to bronchi. Bronchi to bronchioles. Bronchioles to finally air enters into lungs. So again in the same pathway, carbon dioxide also will be exhaled through our nose. The same pathway from lungs to bronchioles, bronchioles to bronchi, bronchio to trachea, larynx, pharynx, nasal cavity and nostrils. Through nostrils we will exhale the carbon dioxide. Now we will see what changes will happen in each and every part of our respiratory tract. When we inhale the air through nostrils it enters into nasal cavity. Our inner part of the nose is having mucous membrane. This mucous membrane contains small hair-like structure so that the air will be filtered. Air will be filtered in nasal cavity only. Any dust particles are there, those will be filtered. At the same time, the atmospheric temperature is different or body temperature is different. So in nasal cavity, the temperature of the air also will become equal to our body temperature. So these 2 changes will happen in nasal cavity. So from the nasal cavity, air enters into pharynx. In pharynx, there will be no changes. It is just common passage for both foot pipe and windpipe. Through pharynx, air enters into larynx. Larynx contains voice box. When you talk something, these sound waves will be passes through larynx. Then only sounds can produce outside. So from there, air goes to trachea. Trachea also passes. Here C-shaped rings. 9 C-shaped rings are present. These rings are helpful to prevent collapsing the trachea. So from there, trachea edge part can divide into 2 parts. These 2 divisions are called bronchi. Each bronchi enters into each lung. Okay. Afterwards, this bronchi further divides into small thread-like structures. Those are called bronchioles. These bronchioles finally enters into lungs. So lungs further they divided into small sac-like structures. These small sac-like structures are called alveoli. So alveoli are called structural and functional units of lungs. When we inhale the air, this air enters into alveoli. So each lung contains nearly 300 millions of alveoli. 300 millions of alveoli. So what is the function of this alveoli? Increase the surface area. When we inhale the air, this alveoli will expand their surface area so that we can breathe more air. So our total lung capacity is 5800 ml. 5800 ml is our total lung capacity. but in each inhalation we will breathe only 500 ml of air. 500 ml of air only we will take in each inhalation and exhalation. 1200 ml of air will be remains in our lungs only. So our lungs are surrounded with two membranes. Okay, the membranes which are present around the lungs are called pleural membranes. The membranes which are present around the lungs are called pleural membranes. Okay, between these pleural membranes one fluid is present. The fluid is called pleural fluid. Pleural fluid. The function of this pleural fluid is protecting the lungs from mechanical shocks and injuries. Lungs are surrounded with two membranes. These two membranes are called pleural membrane. This pleural membrane between one fluid is present. The fluid is called pleural fluid. The function of this fluid is protecting the lungs from mechanical shocks and injuries. So between the two lungs, heart is located. Okay, between the two lungs, heart is located. Our left lung is slightly smaller than right lung because of location of heart. Heart slightly located left side, so that our left lung is slightly smaller than right lung. Okay, so here under these lungs we can find a dome shaped structure. This is called diaphragm. Diaphragm is the floor of chest cavity. When you inhale the air, we can feel that something is pushing down internally. So that is nothing but diaphragm. Diaphragm is called floor of the chest cavity. It is helpful to separate thoracic cavity and abdomen. Okay, thoracic cavity and abdomen will be separated by diaphragm. So in breathing, not only lungs, the rib cage, chest wall muscles and diaphragm, these organs also will play important role in respiration. Okay, so this is human respiratory system. Human respiratory system will start with nostrils. Nostrils means nose, two holes are called nostrils. Inner part of the nose can divide into two parts by nasal septum. The middle separation between nostrils is called nasal septum. So inner part of the nose is called nasal cavity. So from there, pharynx. Pharynx is a common passage for both food pipe and windpipe. From there, air enters into larynx. Larynx contains voice box. Okay, when you talk something, these sound waves will be passes through larynx. Then only sounds can produce. Afterwards, trachea. Trachea contains C-shaped rings. 9 C-shaped rings are present in trachea. Those are made by cartilage. So these cartilage is helpful to prevent the collapsing of this trachea. So trachea end part divides into two divisions. These are called bronchi. Each bronchi will enter into each lung. Bronchi further divides into small thread-like structures. Those are called bronchioles. Again bronchioles will enter into lungs. Okay. So in lungs, small sac-like structures are present. These small sac-like structures, balloon-like structures are called alveoli. If both the lungs alveoli will expand, they can occupy nearly 160 meter square area. So we can imagine how bigger it is. So it is equal to one tennis court. So both lungs alveoli will expand. They can occupy 160 meter square area. That is equivalent to one tennis court. Means what is the function of this alveoli? To increase the surface area. When you inhale the air, those are helpful to increase the surface area. At the same time, our lungs are surrounded with two membranes. These two membranes are called pleural membrane. Between the pleural membranes, one fluid is present. The fluid is called pleural fluid. So any internal organ between the fluids are helpful to protect the organs from mechanical shocks and injuries. Internal organs are like lungs, heart and brain. These all are very delicate organs. So to protect these delicate organs, those will be surrounded with some membranes. So each internal organ membranes will be called with different names. Here around the lungs, the membrane is called pleural membrane. So between the pleural membrane, the fluid is called pleural fluid. A pleural fluid here helpful for protecting the lungs from mechanical shocks and injuries. So between two lungs, heart is located. Heart is located slightly left side. Okay, so that left lung is slightly smaller than right lung. Again, here if you observe the down part of the lungs, we can find a dome shaped structure that is called diaphragm. Diaphragm is called floor of chest cavity. When we inhale the air, when you take long breath, you can feel that something is pushing internally. That is nothing but diaphragm. Again, when we exhale the air, diaphragm will come to normal position. Lungs also will reach to normal position. When you inhale the air, lungs can expand their surface area by taking air into alveoli. So, our total lungs capacity is 5800 ml. So, the people who are experts in yoga and meditation, they take long breath, they can take 5800 ml of air. But normal people, in each inhalation and exhalation, we will take only 500 ml of air. In inhalation, we will take 500, we will exhale the same amount of air. But 1200 ml of air will be remains in our lungs only. It won't come out, it will be stable in lungs always, 1200 ml of air. So, this is about human respiratory system. So, in unicellular organisms, this respiration takes place only in cytoplasm. If you take higher organisms, along with cytoplasm, mitochondria also helpful in respiration. Mitochondria is called energy currency of the cell. Now, we will see aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So, if you take food, after complete digestion of food, with the help of oxygen only, food can digest. That process we call it as oxidation. So, after oxidation, food can convert into energy. It can convert into glucose. So, in some organisms, the glucose formation will take place in the presence of oxygen. Some organisms without oxygen also they can respire. So, the organisms which can oxidize food with the help of oxygen, that is called aerobic respiration we can say. So, without oxygen means anaerobic respiration. Now, we will see the end products of aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So, in both the type of respirations, common product is glucose. But after the formation of glucose, it converts into pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid contains 3 carbon compounds. After the formation of pyruvic acid, if oxygen is available, aerobic respiration will occur. There is no availability of oxygen, anaerobic respiration will occur. So, what are the end products in these two types of respirations? We will see now. Now, we will see what are the end products of both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So, if it is aerobic or anaerobic respiration, glucose is a common product. After complete digestion of food, energy will be released in the form of glucose. So, glucose formula is C6H12O6. It contains 6 carbon compounds. So, glucose will be converts into pyruvic acid. Glucose converts into pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid contains 3 carbon compounds. 3 carbon compounds are present in pyruvic acid. So, up to here it is common. If it is aerobic respiration or anaerobic respiration, up to formation of pyruvic acid, the process will be common. After the formation of pyruvic acid, if oxygen is available, then aerobic respiration will be occurs. Aerobic respiration will occurs. Okay, there is no availability of oxygen, then anaerobic respiration will occurs. Anaerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, what are the end products? Carbon dioxide plus water plus energy will be released. So, in aerobic respiration, we can expect high amount of energy. High amount of energy will be released in aerobic respiration. This we can find mostly in plants and animals. Example, plants and animals. Okay. Anaerobic respiration occurs in the absence of oxygen. Here what are the end products? Lactic acid plus energy. Otherwise ethanol, carbon dioxide plus energy. So, lactic acid and energy will be released in lactobacillus bacteria. Ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy will be released in other microorganisms. So, like this, end products will be different in both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, high amount of energy will be released. Anaerobic respiration, low amount of energy will be released. But up to formation of pyruvic acid, it is common in both aerobic and anaerobic respirations. Lower organisms, they can respire only in cytoplasm. But in higher organisms, we can find respiration in cytoplasm and mitochondria also. Now, we will see the structure of mitochondria. Mitochondria is called powerhouse of the cell. This is one of the important cell organelle which is helpful to store the energy in its body. Mitochondria is covered with 2 membranes. It is double membrane structure. So, this is outer membrane Mitochondria contains two membranes, outer membrane and inner membrane. Inner membrane. So in inner membrane we can find some folding like structures. These folding like structures which are present in mitochondria, these are called cristae. Between these cristae one fluid is present. The fluid is called matrix. The foldings inside the mitochondria are called cristae. Between the cristae the fluid is called matrix. So this is mitochondria is called powerhouse of the cell. Why it is called powerhouse of the cell? Energy will be stored in mitochondria. So it is called powerhouse of the cell. In which form energy is storing in mitochondria? In the form of ATP. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate. So each ATP contains 7200 kilocalories of energy. Okay now. So powerhouse of the cell is called mitochondria. ATP is called energy currency of the cell. Energy is storing in mitochondria. So it is called powerhouse of the cell. In which form it is storing? In the form of ATP. So ATP is called energy currency of the cell, adenosine triphosphate. So each ATP contains 7200 kilocalories of energy. Whenever cells requires energy, this ATP will donate one phosphate bond. Adenosine triphosphate will donate one phosphate bond. So it converts into ADP, adenosine diphosphate. Again adenosine diphosphate combines with another phosphate bond. Again it converts into ATP. So this is a continuous process in mitochondria. So mitochondria is called powerhouse of the cell. Okay. So respiration will occur in two ways. If the respiration occurs in the presence of oxygen, that is called aerobic respiration. Some organisms can respire in the absence of oxygen also. So that type of respiration is called anaerobic respiration. If it is aerobic respiration or anaerobic respiration, glucose is a common product. So after complete digestion, oxidation of the food, glucose will be released. Glucose formula is C6H12O6. So this glucose will be converted into pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid contains 3 carbon compounds up to the formation of pyruvic acid. This is common in both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. After formation of pyruvic acid, if oxygen is available, cells undergoes aerobic respiration. So if it is aerobic respiration, what are the end products? Carbon dioxide, water and energy are end products. So this type of respiration mostly we can see in plants and animals. Okay. So now coming to anaerobic respiration. In anaerobic respiration, lactic acid and energy will be released in lactobacillus bacteria. Ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy will be released in some other microorganisms. So comparing with aerobic respiration, in anaerobic respiration, very less amount of energy will be released. Okay. Energy will be stored in the mitochondria. Mitochondria is a cell organelle which can store energy. So mitochondria is called powerhouse of the cell. So this is the structure of mitochondria. So outer membrane, inner membrane and inner foldings. These folding like structures are called cristae. Inside the cristae, the fluid content is called matrix. Okay. So energy will be stored in mitochondria in the form of ATP. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. Each ATP contains 7200 kilocalories of energy. Whenever cells requires energy, this triphosphate, adenosine triphosphate can donate one phosphate bond. Triphosphate will be converted into diphosphate, adenosine diphosphate. Again, adenosine diphosphate will be combined with another phosphate bond. Again, it converts into ATP. So this is a continuous process in mitochondria. So mitochondria is called powerhouse of the cell. So this is about aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So I hope that respiration topic you understood very well. Practice well all of you. Thank you.